In the summer of 1985, the Texas drifter descended like a deadly disease on a hot California night. A one-man epidemic of madness and murder, one of America's first serial killers to be given a brand name, the name, the Night Stalker.
Lock your doors, lock your windows. If you have the ability to provide additional security devices, then by all means do so.
Who wants to be next? I don't. No one else does.
He preyed on both women and men, young and old. He slipped through windows, slit throats, raped, tortured, and killed.
What is APD?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know.
Typically, it's men who are diagnosed with this personality disorder. They are charming, captivating, cold, and slick.
What does this disorder do?
So, think about your other personality disorders, and most of those are trying to get something from you. You know, either protection or compassion or rescuer, but the sociopath actually wants to control you and manipulate you. He will usually be after either money, favors, sex, but more importantly, more than any of those things, he wants basically the assurance that he controlled you and that he manipulated you. He relies on deceit and lies. He has absolutely no regard for the law. He's a smooth talker. He's impulsive and fails to plan ahead. And he's irritable and aggressive. He has disregard for the safety of others. And again, it doesn't have to be all of these. These are just several of the criteria. He typically, there is evidence of a conduct disorder or conduct problems before the age of 15. He tends to jump from job to job. He appears social and outgoing, but typically they're loners because they don't have a real conscience or a real compassion for anyone. So they always see themselves as the victim. Think about Casey Anthony, if you watch the trial, how she would cry whenever they would mention her car being towed, and yet they could talk about her child's remains and she would be completely blank.
What goes through these people's head?
If they con you, they believe that you just deserved it because you're stupid. They love to get you to bend the rules and bring you to the dark side because then they're going to use that against you. So they may flatter you and get you to tell them things that they can again use against you later on. So remember, with all personality disorders, you're going to be paying attention to how do I feel when I'm with this person. Are you cutting corners against your better judgment? Are you sharing too much to the person and something that they're going to use against you? Are they appealing to your greed? Are they flattering you? Imagine a salesperson who always says things like, well, that's what they say. You know, he tells you how good it is and then says, well, that's what they say. He really doesn't have any compassion for you or empathy. And most of the time you will not have a clue that you're being deceived. So imagine all the characters you've seen on Dateline. So here's what you cannot do. You cannot believe that you're too smart to be conned. You can't think you're special. You can't expect to change this person or align or bond or sympathize with him. You can't trust him or share your secrets. You can't go against your better judgment. And you can't think that he respects you at any cost. You cannot appear weak, and you cannot think confronting him will work. You cannot try manipulating him back, and you cannot lie for him. But here are some things you can do. You can be wary, you can mistrust, you can be entertained, you can say no, you can give him nothing, you can avoid guilt, you can talk to other people and talk about the things you see happening, and you can trust your feelings. Our prisons are filled with these types of people with antisocial personality disorder or sociopath or psychopath. Think about Hitler. Think about Bernie Madoff. He had more money than he could ever spend, and yet he got a thrill out of cheating and robbing the very people that he could smooth talk. He was never going to be able to spend the amount of money that he was getting. He just loved to have the power over people. Think about Ted Bundy, the serial killer. Again, I mentioned Casey Anthony. I think about a teacher who interacted a lot with Eric Harris from the Columbine tragedy, and she said that he gave her faith in humanity. He would come in and offer to set up the science lab or help her out every morning, and all the while was planning the Columbine tragedy. So again, any personality disorder, the key is to notice how you feel. Do you feel crazy? Are you drawn in by their strong personality, and are you dismissing your better judgment? That's how you know you're dealing with antisocial. Bye-bye.
A well-known serial killer and former cult leader, Charles Manson, who has been in and out of jail since he was 13 years old, clearly shows how he suffers from antisocial personality disorder, as you can see from this interview.
20 years later, and they still have no idea what you're about. Tell me in a sentence who you are.
Nobody. I'm nobody. I'm a tramp, a bum, a hobo. I'm a boxcar and a jug of wine. And a straight racer if you get too close to me.